So the Arava is this Rift Valley, goes all the way to Africa, and that's where we get our word Arabia. But Arava is really the name in Hebrew. The way it comes up in the Hebrew Bible is a very important verse that is quoted in the New Testament in the Synoptic Gospels. Let's start with Mark, and Matthew and Luke are just rewritten Mark. John the Baptizer is out in the wilderness, and if you look up the idea of the wilderness, it's out in the Arava. He quotes Isaiah 40, verse 3, I'm the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord in the Arava, meaning right out in this Rift Valley. And in the Dead Sea Scrolls, the community rule, which gives the charter of the group, the beliefs, the basic constitution of the group that wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls, they also say, we are preparing the way in the Arava, and they quote Isaiah 40, verse 3. That's one of the main connections between the Jesus movement, which is in the first decades of the first century AD, and the first century BCE movement of, I think, I don't usually call them the Essenes, but let's just say the Dead Sea Scroll community. The Yakad is what they call themselves, or the Children of Light, or the People of the Way. A lot of association between the movements. I like Robert Eisenman's term, the Messianic movement in Palestine or in ancient Israel in the late Second Temple period. It's not a singular movement that people might associate with John the Baptist Jesus. There are precursors to that movement. But it gets very, very silent. I'm sure many of you have been in various deserts of the world. That's the pull of the desert, to get away from civilization, to go away into the desert. And as long as you have food, water, and shade, you can have the desert experience in a positive way. And so here we are at the very edge of the ancient land of Israel. I personally think that when Paul says, I went into Arabia in the book of Galatians, he's not talking about Saudi Arabia. That doesn't even make sense. And that would just be modern readers that would think that. It should be, I went into the Arava. He went into this desert area. This is the Arava, down by the Dead Sea, and even south of the Dead Sea. And he also says in the same letter, now Mount Sinai is in Arabia. But he's actually talking about it being in the Arava. And I think Paul might have retreated down here. And if you're coming from Damascus, which is the report we get in the book of Acts, and he also mentions it in 2 Corinthians being in Damascus, that he would have come right down that path, that road, that twisting road, stopped here, and I think gone on down into the desert. And he had a lot to think about. I actually put this in my book. Some of you have, Paul and Jesus. There's a section. As I was writing the book, I started thinking about the term Arava, and if Elijah went to Sinai and Horeb, Paul too, and why don't we throw in Jesus as well? Everybody assumes in the Gospel of Mark we get this tradition that after Jesus' baptism by John the Baptizer, he goes into the wilderness to face a temptation, a series of temptations. They're elaborated by Luke and Matthew. Not interested here in the elaboration, but just the idea of the itinerary. But it doesn't say the wilderness of Judea. For years I remember teaching, and I would say, well, students, he went into the wilderness of Judea, which would be way, way up. Actually, on the map, here's Jerusalem way up here. It would be somewhere over here. I think he's down in here, in the Arava. It makes sense. Maybe he also went to Mount Horeb in the wilderness, in the Arava. Who knows? Either way, this is the crossroads. The spice trade came in right through here. There's a Roman tax station just up the serpent's or the scorpion's ascent. But it twists around, that's the idea, and it's treacherous. So, who knows, but the spices come by, traders come by, Lawrence of Arabia, Elijah, Paul, Jesus, who else? Jeremiah, I think he mentions going down to Egypt, and he's up in the Jerusalem area again, coming on down. This is the last stop. If you want to get water and head into the desert to the south, you're going to stop here. So if you want to go on, this is not a promo for the tour, but I'll say this. If you want to go on this tour in March, we'll stay here 3 nights. And even though we stay in nice hotels in the Galilee, on the Sea of Galilee, and Jerusalem, and on the Mediterranean, most people prefer the ruggedness of this camp. It's at the end of the tour. We bond together, we build a fire, we sit around, we talk, and we've been together for 10 days at that point. So you can imagine what it's like. It's just amazing. The stars be coming out in a few hours. It's a little cloudy tonight, but the clouds always go away. We've been watching the moon every night. And I'm always sad to leave this place. I feel right here on this porch, I've spent so many hours and so much time. When I'm digging in Jerusalem, I come down here on the weekends and I just sit here. So it's just absolutely amazing, and I just wanted to share it with you all. And climbing that mountain that we call Prayer Mountain is just very, very exciting as well. And I'm really looking forward to it. So take care. Lehitra od, as we say, until I see you again. Greetings from the Arava, from Ir Avot, or Biblical Tamar.
To S.A. I loved you, so I drew these tides of men into my hands and wrote my will across the sky in stars to earn you freedom, the 7-pillared worthy house, that your eyes might be shining for me when we came. Death seemed my servant on the road till we were near and saw you waiting. When you smiled, and in sorrowful envy he outran me and took you apart into his quietness. Love, the way weary, groped to your body, our brief wage ours for the moment. Before earth's soft hand explored your shape, and the blind worms grew fat upon your substance. Men prayed me that I set our work, the inviolate house, as a memory of you. But for fit monument I shattered it, unfinished. And now the little things creep out to patch themselves hovels in the marred shadow of your gift.